you are always skipping toe day.
Hey Brian, do you want to hold my toes?
Now, when we talk about your foot intrinsics, I want you to think about your feet just as you do with your hands. Now, the key assets to any pianist are their fingers. They are well trained to spread them and have great proprioception and moving quite well along the keyboard or the guitar. Similarly, as a runner, your assets are your toes. In this video, we're going to talk about the importance of foot intrinsics, what are they, as well as how to choose appropriate shoes or footwear to allow your toes to function, as well as the exercises that I give people when they come into the clinic. Now, when we talk about your foot intrinsics, I want you to think about your feet just as you do with your hands. So if your toes aren't functioning well, you're going to find it very hard to balance, absorb force, and produce force. And that is why on my side, I hugely focus on your feet. The reason why I dive deep into the foot intrinsics is that through my previous history, I've had plantar fasciitis, shin splints, because my foot strength is not strong enough. And once I addressed that and changed my footwear, I have not experienced any of these niggles. Now, when we talk about the foot, people think about the ankle or the heel, but actually in your feet alone, there are over a dozen of muscles and bones that function independently to allow the foot to move like your fingers. These guys help control your toes, provide support to your arch, as well as proprioception when you land during your run. Essentially, that allow your feet to feel the ground and give you real-time feedback. And so for today, we're going to talk about two of the main muscles in your toes that help you run better. First, it's the flexor hallucis longus, or the FHL, and second is the extensor hallucis longa, which helps extend the big toe. So first, the FHL runs behind the ankle, underneath the arch, and attaches to the bottom of the big toe. Now, the role of this muscle is to provide rigidity to the arch of the foot upon toe off. And so the second muscle that is important in this phase is the EHL, the extensor hallucis longus, which provides the big thumbs up function. And so that helps after toe off to create clearance of your foot and set your big toe up for that toe off position again. Now, the foot has this amazing engineering component called the windlass mechanism. And so when the big toe has enough strength and range to move up, it's able to tighten up that plantar fascia like a trampoline, and upon landing, that provides a nice propulsive launch pad for your foot to propel forward. Now, when we talked about before the force absorption as well as the production, if your big toe is able to do this well and efficiently, the plantar fascia, like a trampoline, allows you to jump on it and then propel up. Jump on it and propel up. Now, if you didn't have a strong plantar fascia or big toe muscle, it's like having a saggy trampoline that when you jump onto it, your foot arch will collapse, lose all the energy along it, and you have to work harder to propel you forward. Similarly to a saggy trampoline, when you jump onto it, it'll sag, take a bit of time and effort to propel you back up. So, if you're able to have great springs on your trampoline, you'll have fun on your tramp. Similarly to having great toe extension and flexion strength and range, you'll be able to enjoy your run just as much. And so why should you care about these foot intrinsics? Now, if your foot muscles don't work appropriately, they don't absorb force, they don't propel you well, there will be compensations up the chain. These compensations can show up like plantar fasciitis, shin splints, Achilles tendinopathies, or knee or hip issues, as there isn't a great balance component when you land. And now let's talk about the shoe component. When I buy shoes, I have one of the biggest things that I look at is the width of the shoe, or what we call room at the toe box. Now, a perfect shoe or a great shoe is having a variety of shoes with different profiles. Yes, there are components that you look at like the stack height, the cushioning to it, the heel drop, all that does come into play when I choose my shoes. But one of the biggest things for myself is the width of the shoe. This then allows your hands or your toes to function and move appropriately in comparison to something that's a lot tighter and more narrow. So when I look at a shoe, I want the widest part of the shoe to be around the toe box region. So when you look at this is called an ultra escalante. The widest part is around this portion, and there isn't a sharp pinch into a triangle at the toe box. This does allow your feet and your toes to move with more freedom. In comparison to these Nike Pegasus that I've had for a while but I've never really utilized, is that this toe box got a very sharp pointy part. This creates a bunching on your toes, so when you actually land and push off, it doesn't give the windlass mechanism to work efficiently, and you've got a very weak and tight launch pad. My three other favorite shoes that I rotate around are the favorite Speed Endorphins. Now, after a period of time of using these shoes, I started to get some plantar fasciitis, and that's because I had just abused this shoe because of the nylon plate and how fast it allowed you to go. However, when I look at this shoe, again, it's got a very pointy toe box, but it does have a relatively nice width around the midfoot region. Comparatively to the Rebel V4s, they have a wide base overall and even into that midsection, and the toe box is not as aggressive. So I don't mind this type of shoe, as it does allow my foot and my toes to function quite nicely and splay. The other shoe that I like is the Hoka Mach 6. Now, the reason why I like this shoe is that if you look at the toe box down into the midsection, into the heel, it is relatively uniform. And I did get a wider base out of this in the Hoka Mach 6. So we compare these two shoes, you could see how aggressive the Saucony Speed Endorphins are in the arches, and then the width of the midfoot, and then also the base of the shoe. When I show you all these shoes, I do rotate through these to give a bit of a variety. I do understand that shoes like this allows you to move fast and propel well, but if you use and abuse this, your fingers or your toe muscles will start to lose its own function. On a daily basis, to give my toes a bit of breathing space, I like to utilize the Ultra Escalantes, because day to day, I'll be spending most of my time on my feet in the clinic or outside walking around, and I just need my toes to breathe. Now, the third topic here is an interesting one. I love myself toe socks. In comparison to your standard socks, allows your toes to actually independently move and splay. Now, I prefer a brand called Rally, just because I have a bit of a wider box for your toes to fit in. So when you run or if you're on your feet all day, your feet will naturally swell, and these socks give you the freedom to expand in those toe box spaces and reduces the risk of any friction and causing any blisters. So if we put this into comparison to how you wear mittens or gloves on your hands, if you wear mittens in the snow, you can't really form a nice snowball, right? Compared to if you're wearing independent toe fingers in your snow gloves, they allow you to actually hold the snowball and create a nice spherical snowball to throw at someone. And similarly, when you're wearing these socks, it gives you more of the independence to feel for the ground, to give you that feedback and actually give your foot some room to move. And so here comes the fun part, the toe exercises. I've got the big toe lift, small toe lift, piano toes, toe splays, as well as doming. I'll run through these exercises independently and show you how to execute these. You may even notice as you're trying to activate your toes, your fingers will start to play a part of it too, like you're a puppeteer. And that is completely normal, and that is expected because you do not have the control of your toe muscle. And then another method I like to utilize to give your feet a bit of a breather is to massage them with a trigger ball. But I love to start off the toe exercises with a massage. If you got a trigger ball, place them around your foot and start to roll in little thirds and small portions, and with your toes you could curl over the ball and lengthen out. That will just help stretch those toe muscles underneath your feet, give them a bit of the breathing space as well as blood flow to the region. And trust me, when you do this, you will feel like you're walking on clouds afterwards. So before we start these exercises, I want you to think about your foot like a tripod. You've got 3 points of contact on the ground: underneath your big toe, small toe, and underneath your heel. The first exercise that we're going to run through is your big toe lift. Now this one works that EHL muscle that we mentioned earlier, which helps create that clearance when you go into swing phase, and setting up the big toe to push down using the FHL and making that windlass mechanism or the plantar fascia tighten up as a launch pad to propel you forward. As best as you can, you're going to lift your big toe up to the sky and then control it back down. Up to the sky and then control down. There are a couple of things that you may notice as you do this exercise, is that that big toe might go up and over the second toe, and that would indicate to me that you have been wearing a lot of tight shoes because it bunches up your toes. And the goal here is to try and pull that big toe out so that it creates this nice alignment down in towards the inner side of your heel. Now, if that's aligned well and strong, every time you land to push off, your foot isn't rolling in, it's actually allowing you to propel more forward. Now, if you struggle with this, what you could utilize is either a band to assist the movement up, or use your own hands to pull the toes up. If that also is a struggle and your other toes start to pop up too, you can utilize your hands, hold down the small toes. The second exercise is working the FHL, which is the muscle helps flexes the big toe down, creates that rigidity into your foot. Now remember, 3 points of contact, big toe gently push down into the ground as you lift up your small toes. What you should feel here is underneath the arch should either start to cramp or tighten up. The advanced version is that you could apply a band like so, give it a nice tug up, and then lengthen your toes out in front of you as you push down. Control that back up into the resistance of the band, and then slowly push back down. What we don't want to see here is your toes or your toenails bunching up and shortening. We want them to lengthen out. The third exercise is the toe splays. Now, if your toes are very bunched, your big toe is over your second toe, or you get a lot of bunions, this is a great exercise for you. And if you struggle to do this exercise, I would recommend giving it a bit of a release first with that trigger ball and then trying it again. So when we do this exercise, lift up your toes very gently and just look at them and spread them out to the side as best as you can. Now, if you struggle, again, you could utilize your hands to spread those toes apart. The most common thing that I tend to see here is that the second, third, and fourth toe are just so stuck, and you only get this little turtle aspect of big toe out and small toe out. The fourth exercise is piano toes. Now, this is one of the most challenging exercises because it requires a lot of independent control of your toes and dexterity. So what we'll do in this setup is all the toes up, remember the tripod, and then small toe down into big toe down. This will be very similar to when any pianist or guitarist start to warm up their fingers, is that they'll go through a series of plays just to get the fingers nice and working and independently, and this is very similar for runners. And the last exercise is the doming. So this creates the ability of your foot to lengthen out and then shorten in, sort of like a trampoline, expanding and then propelling you forward. So 2 points of contact here is the key point factor. Underneath the big toe into underneath the heels. Think about allowing your arch to collapse into the ground and then just bringing that arch up like a driveway. So closing the garage door down and then opening the garage door. Now, when you look at your toes, they shouldn't be bunching up again. Think about long through your toes as you do this exercise. And so with those exercises apart, you don't have to allow these things to overhaul your life. You don't have to do it every day, but the more you do, the better it gets. But ideally, if you can do about 3 to 4 times a week in your shoes, or I like to call them snacker size, have a couple of reps here and there through the day whilst you're eating breakfast, watching TV. They're actually great ways to implement them through the day without having a structured session. The reason why I call this snacker size and why they have a better effect than lump summing it into one day is that you just get small little doses, like you're depositing small amounts of money into your bank. At the end of the day, there will be a bigger lump sum in comparison to just dumping a large amount at the end of the day and repeating that day in, day out. You'll feel like you're doing a lot and it will be very tiring and you won't go on with it. So snacker size through these couple of reps, couple of seconds, if you have time, implement it through your day at work. So if you're a runner experiencing a lot of plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendinopathy, and it just won't go away, have a look into your feet. It is one of the lowest hanging fruit to do, and it won't show up on your Strava, but the consistency of your running will show. So at the end of this video, I've seen a lot of views and engagements through personally on Instagram or text message. Now, I would love to know more about you guys, so drop down below if you've been experiencing plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendinopathy for a long time, you've gone through many physios, and it just doesn't seem to shake away. Comment below how long you've had the injury for, what type of injury you've had, and the management strategies that you have gone forth through. Because if you would like to implement this and have more guidance, feel free to hit me up on Instagram, kv_physio, and I'm more than happy to help guide you through. Like and subscribe, guys.